The league table might not entirely agree, but there are plenty of people who believe that for the last 2 seasons, Tottenham have been the best team in the Premier League. They might not have the trophies to show for it, but while their thrilling squad has plenty to do with their excellence, it's the manager who's the man behind their success. The son of a farm labourer, Mauricio Pochettino was born in a small town called Murphy in central Argentina, around 2 hours outside Rosario. The story of how he came to join Newell's Old Boys is well told. Marcelo Bielsa, who would go on to be Pochettino's mentor but then was a youth scout with the club, drove for hours to see the young central defender. He arrived at 2 a.m. and the Pochettinos were reluctant to wake Mauricio up, so Bielsa simply asked to see his legs. "They're footballers' legs," he declared, and signed Pochettino there and then. After making his debut in 1988, Pochettino stayed at Newell's for 6 years, in which time they won 2 titles and reached the final of the Copa Libertadores. In 1994, he moved to Espanyol, where he made over 300 appearances in 2 spells and established himself as a club hero. In 1998, Bielsa arrived at Espanyol and asked Pochettino what mark out of 10 he'd give himself for the previous campaign. Pochettino considered awarding himself a 9 or a 10, but modesty overcame him and instead he said 8. Bielsa disagreed. "You've been shit, and if you play like that again, you'll never play for me and never play for Argentina." Pochettino drove home in tears, but the tough love inspired him. His time with Espanyol sandwiched 4 years in France, playing for PSG and Bordeaux, and it was in Paris that he first decided to be a coach, watching then PSG manager Luis Fernandez and thinking about why he had made certain decisions, used formations, and picked players. He was only in his late 20s at this point, but it could be the reason why, when the time actually came to be a coach, he was prepared. In January 2009, Espanyol were heading towards relegation and had already got through 2 managers that season. Pochettino was drafted in despite having minimal coaching experience, and after only 2 training sessions took charge of his first ever game, which just happened to be the derby against Barcelona and Pep Guardiola. They managed a creditable 0-0 draw, but the real task was saving the team from the drop. For this, he enlisted a little extra help. With 10 games of the season remaining, Espanyol were 8 points shy of safety, and things were looking bleak. So Pochettino went on a 30-mile pilgrimage to the Benedictine Abbey at Montserrat to pray to the Virgin Mary, partly to say thanks for his mother's recovery from illness, but also partly to ask for divine intervention in their relegation battle. And his prayers worked. Espanyol won 8 of their last 10 games and survived. He stayed at Espanyol for 3 more seasons, helping in the development of, among others, players like Philippe Coutinho, and transforming the team from relegation battlers into a prototype of the hard-running, relentless teams he would later manage. "He works you like dogs," said one player. His final season started horribly, and he left with Espanyol in the relegation zone, but the job he'd done to that point ensured his reputation remained. In January 2013, Southampton shocked many by sacking Nigel Adkins, who had brought them up into the Premier League, and replaced him with Pochettino. Much like at Espanyol, the initial early scepticism was dispelled with fine results and performances as he took them to 8th place in his first full season, managing their highest top-flight points tally in 20 years. Attention from higher up the food chain was piqued, and after Tottenham had decided to halt the Tim Sherwood experiment, Pochettino moved to White Hart Lane in May 2014. The 3 subsequent seasons have seen consistent improvement, as Pochettino has moulded a brilliant collection of young players into the most exciting team in England. 3rd and 2nd place finishes reflected their excellence, so who knows how far he will take them in the seasons to come.